People who have visited the US, what is your WTF America story? I went to Applebee's, mistake number one I guess. I was then served by a nice young lady called Brittany who asked me with a serious face if we have trees in Scotland. Sorry about that. Everyone knows Brittany is an idiot. When I went to the US the first time and ordered a meal from Burger King, ordering a large fry, Coke, and a Whopper, I was blown away by the size of it all. Each item was larger than the same item back home. I was already like WTF. But then the cashier said I could have a second Whopper for $1. Again, I was like WTF, sign me up. Another time, while I was in Daytona, I went to a restaurant and the woman kept refilling my drink, again and again. Being a bit shy, I did not tell her to stop and expected a bill with $15 for sodas, but then I found out the refills were free. WTF. Free refills? I'd only seen that at places like Subway, but so many restaurants in the US had free refills. I love the US for restaurants and food in general. The portions are massive and very reasonably priced. Australian here. I went to Houston last year and spoke to a girl my age in the airport. We got chatting about uni/college. It was around July, and she asked me if I was on my summer vacation. I casually explained I was on my winter break. She was genuinely confused and did not understand how it was summer in the US, but winter in Australia. I tried to explain, but eventually gave up. Those gaps in your toilet stall doors, what are they even for? Edit. To clarify, I meant the gaps in the sides of the door, not the bottom. Peeking. Aussie here. When I started chatting to a cashier she squealed and asked where I was from. I told her Australia and she instantly dumbed down how she spoke. Do I'll speak English down there? I replied sporadically. She laughed and informed me that wasn't a word. Singaporean here. I feel your pain. You speak really good English for a nation. Korean friend who just got off the plane in Atlanta. So many big fat black women. Yes, he said it loudly and in public. But my favorite was a Japanese fellow who went to a buffet with a group of us in Vegas. He sits down, and his plate looks like a normal little meal. We all have heaps of shit all over ours, and his eyes bug out that we have so much food. I said he's really going to freak out when he realizes this is only our first plate. Me paying at gas station. Attendant hears I have an accent. Smiles at me. You speak English so well. Thanks. Although I should do. I'm from England. Cue confused look. Wait. They? She trailed off speak English there? Her colleague stared at her in open-mouthed disbelief and then broke out laughing with the other customers. She looked mortified. To be fair, I felt terrible for her. She was only trying to be friendly to a foreigner. How spread out everything is. Like, it's pretty much impossible for me to survive without a car, while everywhere I needed to go on a regular basis back in London was in a 10-minute biking distance. Also, the number of pickup trucks people own without needing. Edit. Wholly upvotes. Edit 2. It has come to my attention that the city I live in, Jacksonville, Florida, is the widest city in the 48 contiguous states of the US with a population of just under 1 million. That explains a lot. I visited the US, never understood suburban young kids with huge trucks that clearly do not do any manual labor. I visited, but I also have lived here my whole life. The trend in the market is that people are buying the largest cab size and the smallest bed. Now what does that tell you about people buying trucks? When I first came to the US and my dad took us to a restaurant, I ordered a fish dish, and when it came out I asked my dad how come the fish doesn't look like a fish. I was used to whole cooked fish, so deep fried fish fillet looked really strange to me. Dip that bad boy in some tartar sauce and you have the reason for the South's obesity problems right there. Do you know any Vikings? Asked by a nice young blonde with a straight and serious face in McDonald's. I'm from Denmark. Also, good God, Texas has a lot of fat people. After moving from Africa as a teen, I'm repeatedly asked why I moved to Africa in the first place, to which I reply that I've always lived there. I'm also asked, so why are you white? To which I reply, oh my god, Karen, you can't just ask people why they're white. However, when they reply with blank stares I realize they aren't referencing Mean Girls. Some other questions. So Africa is one country and all the border lines are, like, states? Are there, buildings? You guys have memes over there, right? Are you Australian? Was in northern New York, near Buffalo, and a waitress overheard that I was headed back to the Pacific Ocean. She asked where I was going, and I said Vancouver. No honey, Vancouver is in Canada and that is on the Atlantic Ocean. I said Canada is from sea to sea just like America. She replied no, that's not right, only America is from sea to sea. The combination of her being absolutely sure about something and her total ignorance was surprising enough, but the fact that she felt she should basically interrupt our conversation by telling me I'm wrong about what ocean I live beside was weird. When I went to Florida I was stopped by the police for jaywalking. I protested that the road was clear, so therefore safe to cross. He said I don't know how you do it in your country, but here in the US we take road safety seriously. Aghast, I explained I was from England and my only knowledge of jaywalking was from Lethal Weapon 3, and that I believed it was just a made up law that they used in the movie to sass people. He chuckled and said that's a great movie. I prefer the first. I agreed and said it was by far the best. After a brief chat about the entire Lethal Weapon saga he said in future make sure you use the crossings. I agreed, but asked in a pretty decent South African accent what if I have diplomatic immunity? He chuckled, nodded his head, and pointed to the crossing, and said cross there, enjoy your vacation, and off he went. It was the highlight of my holiday. I'm from Canada and the first thing I saw upon my arrival to Port Angeles, Washington, which happened to be the first time I stepped foot in the States, was a large spherical lady sitting in the middle of the sidewalk blocking my path to the bus terminal, just staring at me. Another time, I was in San Diego one summer and a woman, genuinely curious, asked me if it was summer in Vancouver too. Edit, it was July. Was at an all-you-can-eat buffet with a soft-serve ice cream machine. As kids we thought we were being little pigs by swelling as high as we possibly could while our parents weren't looking, or they certainly would have stopped us. The guy after us grabbed a full-size drink tumbler and filled it up with ice cream. No shame at all. No childlike glee at making the mother of all Sundays. I suspect now it was something he did regularly. I'm Canadian and I went down to the US to do a little shopping. I accidentally pulled out some Canadian bills and the cashier asked why I kept Monopoly money in my wallet. Edit, a lot of people are saying it was just sarcasm. I don't think it was. The cashier looked around 16 years old. She had probably never seen Canadian money before. When I started awkwardly chuckling, she had a puzzled look on her face. But who knows, maybe she was just really invested in a joke. There was a place called Norma's in Washington State. Somewhere rural. Anyway, it was like a shrine to George Bush. The owner was guy and the back of menu had his face with the quote "just call me Norma" on the back. Best burger I ever had, called the George W. Bush burger. I'm Canadian and have visited the United States multiple times and have had an overall enjoyable experience on each one. I wouldn't blame this on America, but I saw a fat bald middle-aged man standing on the side of a Pennsylvania highway with bunny ears. I'm sure this happens in Canada too, but this is the first time I've seen something like this. I'm from the UK, lived in the US for about 5 years now. Few things that annoy me. You want to get a loan for a new car? There's a fee for that. On top of the interest. You want to take money out of the ATM? There's a fee for that. You want to exchange some currency? There's a fee for that. On top of the exchange spread. A product has money off. You'll have to send something to receive it. They hope you can't be bothered. Pretty much any service. Someone will try to make a few extra dollars off you. I went to Disneyland in Anaheim, and it just struck me that there were a large number of disabled people out and about enjoying the rides. I'm from India, where there is no shortage of disabled people, but it was just the sheer number of disabled people that made me extremely happy that the park was accessible to everyone. You done good, America, I said to myself as I ate some horrible expensive fried thing. I later realized that most of those people were not disabled, but fat people on scooters who did not feel like walking. Where do I sign up? Was in Spokane at Silverwood amusement park and asked where the washroom was. I was promptly told there were no washrooms in the park. This happened a good handful of times and it never even occurred to me that I had to say restroom. to receive any real help.